On Across an Arrow, Chapter 3 of A Fruit Forbidden.
Spines, can you be a sweetheart and get me Rules of Causality 101?
Sure thing, Dusk. Hang on.
The lavender stallion nodded to his assistant as she rushed off, before turning back to his book. It was a book that he had managed to find only a few minutes ago, a mysterious title labeled Exploring the Aether for Fun and Profit. He had seen it earlier today, but had been distracted by a rather high-powered anomaly outside the library. When he had returned, a sick Butterscotch had been present, bundled up, his voice softer and higher than usual. At the time, he thought nothing of it. He did ask for supernaturals after all, though Dusk still thought he could have cleared him up with a good spell. However, that seemingly innocent event was resurfacing in his mind after reading halfway through his current tome. A spell for instant long-range teleportation was positioned above another spell for dimensional viewing. He had been intrigued by the thought of long-distance teleportation and for a second entertained the idea of calling the gang together to try it out.
Maybe Applejack would have some ideas on where to go. Butterscotch wouldn't be able to make it though, he's sick.
And so he had shelved the idea, read the next spell, and spotted its rather long list of warnings. That was when the alarm bells went off in his head.
Usage of this spell in conjunction with the above might result in accidental dimensional displacement. Use with extreme caution. Reference the rules of causality before using.
Here we are, Dusk.
Spines spoke up, plopping a rather hefty volume next to the unicorn's current book.
Any more heavy lifting like that and I'll be as ripped as Applejack.
That's a disturbing thought.
Dusk's horn lit and the book opened up.
Say, when Butterscotch was here earlier today, did you notice anything odd about him?
Besides the fact that he sounded kind of like Butterbabe again? Not really, no. Not that I could see a lot of him. His face was pretty wrapped up.
It was, wasn't it?
The colt used a hoof to stroke his chin.
Well, I can see why AJ would give him his hat, but elusive scarf? The boutique is clear on the other side of Ponyville from the farm.
Maybe he was visiting. I know I wouldn't mind a visit from that stallion anytime soon.
Her feet left the ground as a dreamlike expression spread across her face.
Oh, elusive. Why, yes. I'd be mad to refuse anything from you. To lend Butterscotch a scarf? He's so selfless. What a man.
The purple pony could only roll his eyes. He'd dealt with this fangirl side of his assistant before.
Yes, we're all aware he's the element of generosity. I was there. Back on task. You didn't see anything weird about Butterscotch at all?
The little lizardess blinked before she landed softly on her haunches.
No, I didn't. Why? Is there something wrong, Dusk?
He hummed for a bit longer, his eyes running over a particular passage in the heavy-set tome before speaking again.
It's just a hunch. It may be nothing at all, really. Hey, I know.
He stepped away from his desk, a smile on his face.
Spines, grab the tea. We'll pay Butterscotch a visit.
As Spines saluted smartly and rushed off, Dusk Shine clopped over to his saddlebag and slipped it on, grabbing his wallet. As he waited, his eyes darted back over to the open chapter of the book he had left, the chapter titled Alternate Universes and You. Fluttershy clopped into Ponyville, a saddlebag around her waist and a purse filled with bits in her mouth. It was clear that the bushes that made up the hedge were inedible to any degree, and if they were going to wait for 3 days, they would need food and supplies. So they had pooled their bits, given the money in bags to the Pegasus, and set her on her way. They had all agreed that in this alternate world, she was the least conspicuous of the 6. She looked around furtively as she entered town, spying and identifying every pony she saw. A blue mare with a saxophone played outside a delicatessen, an orange stallion with a carrot cake mark ordering a carrot dog, and fluttering along the sky, a cross-eyed Pegasus colt delivered the mail. They made no effort to single her out, which she noted with no small relief. Her luck held up as she entered the marketplace, her eyes steadily avoiding the Sweet Apple Acres stand, as she instead directed herself to another fruit stall. No pony recognized her, but she was greeted friendly and warmly by every stall owner, much to her relief.
I should have known Ponyville's friendliness to new ponies would have held up.
It didn't take long to fill her bags, she noticed, and as she stuffed a bunch of bananas into one of the pockets, she realized that she had bought more than she'd expected.
Not that that's a bad thing. We are waiting for 3 days after all.
After settling a deal for a pack of strawberries, she finally did an about-face and left the market, eyes still wandering about the place. She spotted Harpsy and Babar outside of Sugar Cube Corner, her path instantly directing itself away from the establishment. She still thought the two, as colts, made a cute couple, but they had also seen her once before recently, and she didn't want to risk... She hadn't been looking where she was going, having collided with another pony. On top of that, the collision had popped the top off one of the bags, fruit spilling everywhere.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I wasn't looking where I was going.
She immediately set about gathering the loose produce back up.
Oh, no, it was my fault. I was distracted.
The other pony bent down and began assisting her with the corralling.
Oh, think nothing of it. I didn't mean to disturb you.
No, it's okay. Here, let me help you. I didn't mean to make you spill your stuff.
It's alright. This happens more often than you would think.
If you say so. I'm still responsible, though. Here.
Oh, well, thank you, sir.
Oh, you're welcome, miss. I mean, that is, if you don't mind.
There was one apple left, and 2 hooves alighted on it at once. 2 butter-yellow hooves. Fluttershy's eyes widened as she trekked the other hoof back up to its owner. She was met with a pair of aqua-blue orbs that returned her gaze, apparently seeing her for the first time as well. He was a Pegasus, with wavy pink hair that was cut slightly short. From here, she could tell that he had at least 1 butterfly for a cutie mark. He was... her. Her eyes shrunk as her cheeks flushed, as somewhere in the back of her mind, a warning bell rang off that said at any moment now, she would be exploding. Twice. A full minute passed as they stared at each other. Nothing happened.
Hi.
Hi.
The male Pegasus dipped his head low as he blushed slightly, a gesture that she found endearing.
I haven't seen you around before. I'm not usually the forward one, but, what's your name?
She dipped her own head down as she pawed at the ground.
I'm Fluttershy.
Apparently, he had good hearing, as his ears perked and a smile came across his face.
Hi, Fluttershy. I'm Butterscotch.
Butterscotch.
She looked back up at him again, the same name Dusk and Spines had used when she'd met them. So this really was her male self. Despite the awkwardness she felt, a smile graced her own lips as she looked him over. Another round of awkward silence descended before Butterscotch spied the apple again. He scooped it up with his hoof and offered it to the filly, shy blush still in place. She accepted the fruit, taking the stem in her mouth and placing it in her bag.
Thank you for helping me.
She closed the flap precariously over the bulging baggage.
It was no trouble. Are you sure you don't need any help carrying all that? That looks like an awful lot of fruit.
Oh, well, it's nothing I'm not used to. I always carry as much as I can whenever I'm feeding the animals.
Suddenly, the yellow stallion's eyes sparkled.
You like to take care of the animals too?
She looked towards him, and seeing his joyed expression, somehow caused her own face to light up in tandem.
Oh, yes! It's one of the most special things to me in the world.
Oh, it's the same with me. It always fills me with joy to help feed the ducks.
And help groom the ferrets.
And shine the turtle shells.
And do you feed the otters by cracking the clams just slightly too?
Oh yes, so they can still feel strong when they open them themselves.
The thought caused the pair of ponies to devolve into a giggle fit. At length they looked into each other's eyes again. The mare felt any trepidation she had before slowly dissolving away. Having met her own self, she felt something, like a lightness. It tingled in her hooves and worked its way across her body. As they continued staring, she got the distinct feeling that at any minute now, she was about to fly away, without even having opened her wings.
Does he feel the same way?
Finally, Butterscotch opened his mouth to speak again.
I like you.
He blushed more prominently than before.
I like you too.
They stared at each other for a few seconds more. Around them, Ponyville continued on with its business, heedless of the 2 yellow Pegasi.
Um, would you like to eat somewhere? I could take you to Sugar Cube Corner. One of my friends works there.
He pointed a hoof over to the store.
I mean, if that's all right.
Fluttershy made as if to accept, but then another thought flitted across her mind.
Oh, I would love to. Believe me, Butterscotch. But I have friends that are waiting for me. For these.
She made a motion back to her bags.
If I can, though, another time, I would love to go eat somewhere with you.
He nodded, his blush still matching his female counterpart's own.
Okay then, I understand. I'll, keep an eye out for you. Until next time, Miss Fluttershy?
She got onto all four hooves and trotted up to him, snout to snout, before she whispered.
Until next time.
Two things happened at once then. The first thing that she was cognizant of was that she was running full tilt back towards the forest, her bag miraculously staying intact. The second thing that she became aware of, turning her face bright red, as she realized she'd done it first, before breaking into a gallop. She had nuzzled him. Back in the street, a pink-maned Pegasus stared off in the distance at the retiring form of what he felt was his better half. The brush against his cheek was quite warm, and as it sunk in, a goofy smile began to spread across his face.
Yo! Hey there, Brony!
There was a rush of wind as another Pegasus stallion landed next to him, spiky multi-hued mane sticking out in all directions.
Yo, Scotch! Been looking around for you. What have you been up to?
There was no reply.
Scotch? Yo, Equestria to Butterscotch!
The blue pony waved a hoof in front of his friend's face. No reaction. Now the stallion grimaced as he clopped his forehoofs together in front of the yellow equine's eyes.
Hey! Butterscotch!
Finally, the aforementioned colt blinked as the noise registered. Slowly he looked up, aqua eyes meeting with rose ones.
Oh, hi Rainbow Blitz. A lovely day out today, isn't it?
An eyebrow was arched.
Yeah. Real nice weather we've been having.
There was a slightly sarcastic tone in his voice. It went unnoticed.
Yes.
Butterscotch turned his head back in the direction that the mare had gone.
Absolutely beautiful.
Now Blitz was confused, as he took to the air again to hover upside down in Scotch's face.
Hey there, Pony. Is something wrong? You look like you just let the mare of your dreams get away from you.
This caused the smaller Pegasus to let loose a distinctly unmanly giggle.
Well, she did go away, but she asked nicely. I didn't mind. She said she'd love to come back another time.
This, Rainbow had not been expecting. He turned his head in the direction his friend was looking in. However, all he could spot was a settling cloud of dust. That didn't matter. A grin had blossomed on his face, as he righted himself and wrapped a hoof around the yellow one's shoulders.
Aha! It finally happened, didn't it, Scotch? You found yourself a filly friend. Tell me, what's she like? She cute? Sassy? Tell me, you going steady? Ooh, just wait till Barry hears this. I bet the bashful throw will be awesome.
Butterscotch was turning a deeper shade of red as his friend had continued, before finally squirming himself free.
Please, Blitz, I just met her today, and all we did was talk. Well, we first, kind of bumped into each other, and she, spilled her groceries. But still, we talked, and we discovered that we both liked animals, and she was really cute, and then, well...
Kindred spirits, eh?
The blue Pegasus gave a playful punch to the shoulder.
Lucky buck. Then what happened?
Well, then I said that I liked her.
And
then she said she liked me too.
It was not the way that Rainbow Blitz would have gone about it, but he couldn't argue with the results. A surge of pride building in his chest as he pulled his friend close and gave him a noogie.
You stud! I always knew there'd be a gal out there for you, and what do you know? Oh, I've got to tell Dusk about this. He'll so put it in his next letter to the prince.
Now Butterscotch's face was deep red.
Oh no, Blitz, you wouldn't!
All he got in return was a sinister grin.
Say, what is her name? I'm guessing she's another Pegasus, right?
Shyly, the yellow one nodded.
Her Her name is Fluttershy.
His voice took on a reverent tone as he said her name, which gave Blitz a cause to roll his eyes.
Oh, she was just so wonderful. She was very calm and polite, and she was wonderfully timid, which I found so very cute. It made me all but forget the visit that Dusk paid me earlier today. I still don't know why he thought I was sick. Blitz? Rainbow Blitz?
Apparently, the blue stallion liked hearing stories of scoring, not romance. A couple of feathers were all that remained next to Butterscotch's hooves. Fluttershy had managed to catch her breath once she had returned to the hedge. Twilight was waiting for her outside, and with a little assistance, they managed to fit the crowded bags through the diminutive entrance.
Oh my!
The interior had undergone a dramatic transformation. A few colored blankets hung on the walls, a small fire pit had been dug out and constructed, and there were plenty of haystacks for seating. Hanging from a root in the ceiling was a firefly lamp, and the stone table from earlier was now festooned with a tablecloth and a vase full of daisies.
Oh, Fluttershy, you're back!
Rarity was tail-sweeping busily at the floor, while Pinkie, Rainbow Dash, and Applejack worked on tacking on the door to a makeshift pantry.
Rarity's done a good job sprucing up the place, don't you think?
Twilight unbuckled one of the bags.
Oh yes, this all looks so wonderful. I had no idea you were carrying so much with you, Rarity.
My darling, one must never leave her house unprepared. It would simply have been unbecoming of me. Besides, I simply had to do something. If this is to be our little home away from home, then let's make it our own, right?
Can't argue with that.
Applejack strolled over to the saddlebags.
Say, you got any apples in there? I'm hungrier than a pig that's gone a couple days without slop.
Oh yes, I brought enough for everyone.
Fluttershy smiled as she opened the other bag, a few strawberries falling out.
Every pony dig in.
There was no need to say anything else. All 6 fillies proceeded to partake of the feast that had been retrieved. Much smacking and nomming filled the cave. After a bit, the yellow pony herself stopped eating as she noticed she was holding an apple. Slowly, a faraway look appeared in her eyes. Twilight brought her head up from the date she had been chewing on, her eyes noticing her friend's odd state. She trotted beside her, poking at her hoof.
Fluttershy, you all right?
The Pegasus started a bit as she focused, but gave a calm smile to the unicorn.
Yeah, I'm okay. It's just that,
Inquisitive, the student leaned in.
What? Something happened?
Well, I just...
Aqua eyes dipped down to the floor before she spoke the following.
I think your other theory is wrong too, Twilight.
For some reason, despite the volume of the words spoken, they had managed to grab the attention of every pony present, and the sounds of eating quickly died down.
What do you mean?
Twilight had a suspicion already forming in her mind as her pupils began to shrink.
I mean that I didn't explode.
Pears and grapes were dropped as the other 4 horses gasped, Applejack in particular looking like she was about to faint.
Fluttershy?
The lavender unicorn was now all business.
What happened while you were out there?
Fluttershy could now tell she was in trouble. She began to shrink down in her spot as she mumbled.
I met Butterscotch.
What was that, Shy?
Dash was now hovering over the pony's other side.
I ran into Butterscotch at the marketplace.
One more time.
Applejack's face got into Fluttershy's own. That was enough to provoke a reaction.
I ran into Butterscotch!
There was a mass of sighs and moans as the words confirmed their worst fears.
Quite literally, actually. I wasn't looking where I was going, and we both walked into each other, and then he was nice enough to help me pick up all those fruits and vegetables, and then we got started on talking about animals.
Yeah, we get it.
Dash interrupted, her patience quickly running low.
Jeez, Shy, sometimes you're just as bad as Pinkie. If I didn't know any better, I'd say you found yourself a new cult friend.
At this, Fluttershy blushed heavily as she cast her gaze down, a hoof pawing at the ground. Rarity's eyes widened at this. recognizing the signs immediately before pointing at her.
Fluttershy! You didn't!
He said that he liked me.
And what did you say?
Dash leaned in, accusingly.
I said that I liked him too.
Oh, no.
Twilight suddenly chanted, her expression having evolved from shock to outright panic.
This is not what we need. That's the last thing we need. Fluttershy, do you realize what this means? If you start crushing on yourself and vice versa, then the whole of reality itself could be doomed.
But Twilight, you said that if we met ourselves, we'd all go poof. And Fluttershy's still here. She and her boy self haven't gone poof.
I know. That was just a theory, though, and Fluttershy's managed to disprove it. But what's happening instead could be far more devastating over the long run.
The librarian ran her hooves through her hair as scenario after scenario rampaged through her mind. Scenarios involving dimensional physics getting mixed up with that one science that she had yet to do any real study on. Romance.
I'm sorry, Fluttershy.
Twilight rounded about back to her friend.
But this just isn't going to happen. I don't want to do this, but the truth is, if you've got these feelings for Butterscotch, for your own male self, we can't let you do the shopping anymore.
But Twilight!
End of discussion.
The finality was evident in her words. The unicorn turned to look at the rest of her group.
This goes for all of us. We can't meet our own selves, or something like this might happen.
Twilight, you can't be serious. These are matters of the heart you speak of. You can't expect to simply lock Fluttershy up in here and deny her of any kind of closure to the bond she's forged in herself.
She got a look that told her that was exactly what she had been planning on doing.
This is not our world!
Each word was punctuated with the stamping of a hoof.
We have no place in it. None at all. And we need to make sure we don't leave any kind of mark here. We've probably already caused who knows what untold damage when we enlisted the Crusaders, and now Fluttershy has a crush on our male alter ego? The fabric of reality is a delicate thing. Rarity, you can appreciate this metaphor I'm about to use. Imagine a reality as an Afghan quilt, weaved out of yarn. Every piece of yarn used is in fact a pony. So what happens if a couple of pieces of the same yarn try and occupy the same stitch?
The white one could already see where this was going.
An ugly quilt, for certain. And if it stayed in there...
Yes. Then things could happen. Bad things. We don't know what, but rest assured, they would be bad. Very bad.
There was silence all around. Out of it came a very timid voice.
I'm sorry.
Twilight looked towards the Pegasus, expression softening, if only for a second.
No, I'm the one who's sorry. Fluttershy, the last thing I want to do is deny you something, but trust me, this is the way it has to be.
She only got a single nod in reply. Rarity moved first, taking Fluttershy aside, while Applejack hefted the bag and dragged it towards their newly built pantry, the remaining two ponies assisting her. The student sighed as she let her eyes rest on a green tome, levitating it up to her face. It was going to be a long 3 days. There was a tapping at the window. Somewhere in the back of the library, there was a snort, followed by a feminine...
5 more minutes, please, Dusk.
The unicorn rolled his eyes before lighting his horn and swinging the window open. In came a familiar blue stallion, crooked rainbow tail swinging as he glided in towards Dusk's desk.
We have a door, you know, Blitz.
He got a lopsided grin in return.
Now where would the fun be in that?
There was a shaking of a mane with an amused grin.
What brings you by here today? We all know you're not the reading type.
Oh man, I've got a juicy piece of news for you. It's about Butterscotch.
The Pegasus was obviously in glee as he clopped his hoofs together. Dusk, on the other hand, was not amused.
Oh gosh, something about Butterscotch? Let me tell you something weird about Butterscotch. Apparently, either we've all gone crazy, or there's 2 of him lurking around Ponyville.
This caught Blitz by surprise.
2 of them? What do you mean by that?
The lavender equine collected his wits before starting from the beginning.
Okay. Earlier today, Butterscotch shows up in my library, decked out in AJ's hat and a scarf. He claims he's got a cold, and his voice is so tiny that I'm inclined to believe him. He checks out supernaturals, fair and good. Later in the day, I get worried about him, gather up spines and some tea, and go visit his cottage. Want to know what I find? Not only is he hunky-dory and okay, but he's got no memory of ever even being in the library today, and supernaturals is nowhere to be seen.
The rainbow colt sat there for a few seconds, absorbing the information.
So, you're saying that Scotch was lying to you?
He wasn't lying, at least when we met him at his place. You and I both know him, and the poor guy couldn't belt out a whopper under pressure even if he tried.
That much is true.
Blitz hummed as he crossed his forehooves.
I wonder if his girlfriend has anything to do with this.
Now it was Dusk's turn to blink.
Girlfriend? What?
Rainbow shook his head as the original purpose of his visit resurfaced in his mind.
Oh yeah, that's what I came here to tell you. Butterscotch met the filly of his dreams today.
The unicorn blinked awkwardly.
Aha, that's great news, actually. Did you see her?
Nope. She was already gone when I got there, but the fellow was positively dripping with puppy love. It was written all over his face.
Well, did he describe her to you?
Well, from what I stuck around to find out, apparently she's an animal lover like him, and that she's got twice the number of shy bones that he has, if that's even possible.
Somewhere in the back of Dusk's mind, a suspicion was growing larger with every word his friend spoke.
Did he tell you what she looked like?
Here, the blue colt took on a sheepish expression.
I can't remember if he did or not, exactly. Oh, he did say that she was a Pegasus too.
There was a massaging of temples.
And her name?
The pony tilted his head back as he racked his brain.
Flutey Toot, Shooty, Solaris, what was it? Fluttershy? Flutter!
He suddenly sprung on all four hooves.
Fluttershy! Yeah, that was it, Fluttershy!
The student rolled the name around his tongue, his eyes unfocused in thought.
Butterscotch, Fluttershy.
His expression took on a gape of shock, scenarios running through his mind.
Of course! It has to be!
Now Rainbow Blitz was completely confused.
Has to be what? What's going on here, Dusk?
I'm not sure yet.
Dusk trotted back towards his desk.
But I have a feeling this isn't the end of it. Blitz, if you see any ponies that you don't recognize walking around Ponyville, come and tell me immediately. I need to start keeping a record.
His horn glowed as a piece of parchment and a quill pen came into view.
If you say so, Brony.
The Pegasus lifted himself up towards the open window.
A record of what exactly? Is it something big?
It's something.
A couple of names were written down on the paper.
Whether it becomes big or not, we've yet to see. Just keep an eye out, okay? Oh, and watch yourself. We don't know what these ponies are capable of.
Psh, come on, Dusk. I'll run circles around him. I'm Rainbow Blitz, remember? I'll find your weird ponies in 10 seconds flat.
With that, he left through the window in his trademarked multi-hued blur. Dusk couldn't help but chuckle at the nature of his friend's exit, before returning his attention to the paper and what he'd written.
Butterscotch equals Fluttershy. Parallel gender-swapped universe. Future cases to go below.
For an instant, an absurd thought flashed through his mind, one that both amused him and frightened him at the same time.
2 Rainbow Blitzes?
He chuckled out loud to himself.
I don't think Equestria would be able to survive that.
To be continued. On Across and Narrow, Chapter 4, Upon a Wing and a Prayer.
Rainbow Dash held her breath as she heard the figure enter the bedroom. There were sounds of rummaging before another call came out.
I know you're still in here! The window's still closed! Come on out so I can teach you something called private property laws!
She didn't, of course. The filly scooted as quietly as she could into the bowels of the house. Judging from her position, she figured she was now over the living room. A screened air hole allowed her to peer down and confirm her location. It also allowed her a good look at the sky blue stallion who was making his way back down the stairs. Wild Rainbow Ming flailing about as his rose-tinted eyes searched the premises for the intruder. Snorting, he stomped a hoof onto the floor.
Come on, show yourself! I'm not afraid of you!
Now that she was actually seeing him for herself, she found her body reacting in a way she hadn't expected. That was to say, she was feeling a rock in the bottom of her stomach weighing her down, the same weight that she had felt back at the Best Young Flyers competition.
But I'm afraid of you. I don't know why, but I'm afraid of you.